Hi, I'm Dr. Easterbrook and I'm Head of History here at the Langton. Welcome. So what I'm going to do is just talk through some of the things that you would expect to do whilst you're studying history here at the Langton, give you a flavour of some of the things that we study and some of the things that we have as opportunities for you as you progress through the school. So why do we study history at all? I mean, history at the Langton is very important. It's an integral part of the whole school curriculum. Not do you just have lessons in history here, but we try and embed it further in what you do around the rest of the school as well. So there'll be aspects of history that come up in your PB lessons. There's aspects of history that come up in a course that you do further down the line in school in history of ideas, which you will do in year 7 in part, and then through year 8 and year 9 it develops, and then it becomes much more embedded in year 10 and 11 and so on. So history is important. I mean, to be honest, you live in and around Canterbury, you can't fail to realise that history is a very important part. It's all around us on a daily basis. I mean, the fact that we live in a cathedral city, the fact that that city, that cathedral is a part of the religious heritage of this country, the fact that we're in a city that is very close to the first Christian church that was built here in this country, the fact that our own school is actually so closely related to that cathedral, the fact that we get our name from Simon Langton. Simon Langton was brother of the Archbishop of Canterbury, Stephen Langton, and Stephen Langton you'll learn a lot about, and we do our medieval studies in year 7 because we talk about his role in writing Magna Carta. So the school and history are absolutely closely linked together. So we're really quite passionate about history here, and we want you to be passionate about it too. There's 4 of us in the department, and so all of us come about history from slightly different points of view. We've all got different interests and different research interests, and you'll see that in your lessons. So depending on which teacher you have, we'll all take things in slightly different directions. We want you to enjoy history. We want you to find it fun. It might not be perhaps your best subject or your favourite subject, but we do want it to be enjoyable. We do want you to learn from your history lessons and help it, for it to guide you and help you become a better citizen, a better person for understanding the history around you. So how do we do that? Well, if you look at our curriculum, this is just what we, a very, very tiny taste of what we do in the first 3 years here at Langton. So in year 7, our studies are very much focused around the medieval period. We start with the Norman invasion, looking at the Battle of Hastings, what the Normans bring to England, what they do to England, how they change England, how they improve England, looking at William I and what kind of king he was. And then we move on through our medieval studies to look at the developments that follow on from the Normans and how Parliament develops and how there is division between people and Parliament and how people challenge the king, how they challenge Parliament, how they challenge authority in this country, and looking at impacts of the Black Death and how that's going to have a bearing on the way that people behave and their response to things leading up to the Peasants' Revolt in 1381. So it's really quite exciting looking at those developments. And equally, it's very local as well. We're going to be looking at, the Norman conquest and how the Normans arrived in the southeast of England, how they travel up to London and take power. So that is really quite close to us. We look at Magna Carta, and as I said, Stephen Langton, the brother of Simon Langton, the founder of our school. We look at how we are connected as a school to such a significant event in history, and an event that's not just important here in this country, but it has impacts on other countries as well, like America. The United States of America base part of their constitution on aspects of Magna Carta. So it's a really important document, and it all happens here. Then, as we move through into year 8, we carry on from the medieval period and move into the early modern period. This is where I get quite excited, being somebody who's an early modern historian. We get to look at the Tudor period and the Tudor monarchs, finishing off with a study on Elizabethan England, trying to get to grips with to what extent was it a golden age in the Elizabethan period. Then we start to have differences between where your different teachers will take you. So some of us will go and do something quite different at the end of each year. So in year 7, you might do slavery across time. You might do the rights of women across time. In year 8, you could do a study on the development of politics across Europe. Again, I said I'm an early modern historian, so I'm particularly interested in the development of the Dutch Republic, for example. Or you could trace religion, looking at the Reformation and the Counter-Reformation during that period as well. In year 9, we all come back together again and we look at the First World War, the origins of the First World War. Then we look at the impacts of the First World War and how it redesigns not just Europe but the world in the 1920s. And again, your different teachers will take you in different directions. So you may well find that one teacher will take you and look at the Second World War, how the First World War leads to the Second World War. Another one might do a study on the 1920s and how that leads to the breakdown of countries like Germany. Or you could do something completely different and you could look at the development of the RAF, for example. So each one of us brings something slightly different. So no two class does quite the same thing in quite the same way, which makes it different and it makes it exciting. Because when you come back together as different groups, you'll all bring something different back to the classroom. As we move on forward then, obviously what we do in Key Stage 3 is looking ahead. Now I know you're just about looking where you might be going in year 7 next year. So this is more really to your mums and dads. So just to give you a taste of what we do at GCSE and A-level. You can see on the screen that we have 4 components to our GCSE studies. So it's four papers which are broken down into a British paper and an international paper. So 2 2-hour exams are sat at the end of GCSE. We have picked things that build on what we have already done in Key Stage 3, but as you can see, if you look at the content of our A-level studies, you'll see that actually we're leading our students forward towards A-level as well. So hopefully they will have those skills moving forward for A-level. So A-level, the 2 components that are sat in the first year, so we do Russia and Stuart England in year 12, and year 13 we do a very extensive course into the civil rights in the United States. Students also sit a piece of coursework as well, which is also undertaken in the beginning of year 13. But that's a very long way off, so we don't need to worry about that too much. Okay, but what you can think about is the extra things that you can get involved in with history around the school. As I said, history is also embedded in things like the History of Ideas program, which allows us to take history off in different contexts as well. But there is also societies and trips that you can be involved in too. So the History Society is in 2 versions. There is one that is available for 6th formers, but there's also a Junior History Society which is available to Key Stage 5 students. It's a weekly debate where you can sit and talk about your favourite aspects of history. So it can be completely different to what we're doing in the classroom. As you can see from the photographs down there, our students also go out and they do trips as well. So the one at the top is a photograph from one of our GCSE trips, and this is a GCSE trip that we undertake in year 11 to Berlin, covering both the Cold War and the Germany aspect of our GCSE. But if you look down to the bottom right, you'll also see there's a photograph of one of our students at the British Tank Museum. And this is actually part of our Junior History Society. They went off on a trip. A small number of them went off on a trip to the Tank Museum, and they enjoyed a day of walking around tanks, looking in and out of tanks, and generally climbing over tanks. So a thoroughly enjoyable day for everybody. We've also Unfortunately, due to COVID, it hasn't actually taken place yet, but we've also got a trip set up to Krakow as well, where students have the opportunity to go and walk around the historic city, but also this is part of our Holocaust studies as well, and it involves a trip out to Auschwitz as part of Auschwitz Memorial and Museum. Okay, so it's just a kind of a taste of what we do here at the Langton. History is a very vibrant and a very exciting department. Students are encouraged to participate from Year 7 onwards. Obviously, not all students take it on beyond Year 9, which is why I'm stressing that we like in Year 7 to 9 for history to be an enjoyable subject. Even if students feel that history is not something that they want to take for GCSE or A level, we want them to have learned from their first 3 years. We want them to go away better people having studied history here. So if you have any further questions, you can get in touch with me via the school. If you email me directly via the school office, I can answer any questions you may have about the history department. But just before I go, I want you to have a look at this. So down the right hand side, you will see 2 links that you can actually just type in to a search. And the first one will give you some of our students speaking about their history studies. So it'll give you an idea of the type of things that they enjoy studying in the history classroom. On the bottom right hand side, you will see another link, and this is a few of our students who've got together and they've built a little bit of a game for you to play. So it's basically Cluedo, but it's Cluedo with a historic twist. So if you type the link into your browser and press play, you can have a go at historical Cluedo.